What's up guys, and welcome back. Today we are going to be doing some very fun, transformative work on the truck. If you guys caught our last episode, you saw me tear into Medusa here, and let's just say I'm still not sleeping well because of all the things that happened there. But today, we're going to be removing some really cool stuff off of the back end of the truck, maybe getting the cab off of the frame. I'm really excited to dive into it today. But first, we have a very special delivery that's going to be down at our P.O. box, so we're hitting the road really quick. All right, so as most of you guys saw in our first episode, my wife got very mad at me because she found out that I bought a new plasma cutter and a new welder, basically to start this truck project. I also bought a lot of other tools, most of which she actually knows about. So I did end up getting a drill press, a jet drill press, which is like something I think I'm gonna need for a lot of different reasons for the rest of my life, but starting with this project. And that drill press was supposed to show up 2 months ago, and then the freight company completely lost it, and then they have no idea where it is, so the company sent me a second drill press. It's supposed to be here in a few days, and then the freight company calls and says, hey, we found your drill press, it's been sitting on the dock for a month. It's like, perfect. So we're here at the P.O. box, we're picking up the drill press. All right, so we got the drill press picked up. It's in the back of the truck. It weighs about 170 pounds and it's on a pallet. So I'm gonna see if my wife, Allie, and I can actually unload it out of the truck and get it in here so that we can close this door back and get the shop heated up. And then it doesn't have to live in the back of my truck until we make space. So we're gonna give this a good try here. Your job is to All right, so we got the drill press in. Now we can close the garage and we can get to work on the Toyota.
Come on, inside, let's go. Come. Inside.
All right, so when I first started working on this truck, I took out the radiator, the AC condenser, everything in the front end, the fan shroud, and I put most of that stuff in the bed, as well as the front bumper, the fender, all the things that came off when it got crashed, they just threw into the bed. So right now, I actually want to disconnect all the electrical from the bed, take out the bolts that hold it to the frame so that we can take the bed off and completely remove it. But first, I've got to empty all this stuff out of the bed. Unfortunately, this bed has like this weird outlet back here where you can have like 120 volts for like battery charging and things like that. So I've got to disconnect the wiring harness there, and I've got to disconnect the taillights, make sure everything is separated from the bed. Then I'll get these bolts out. We'll be able to pick the bed up. I'm kind of debating on whether I should just stand the bed up behind the truck against the garage door. Then we don't have to try and like monkey it over the top of the frame and get it over to the other side of the garage. I think that's the easiest way to get it off the frame and out of the way.
Me too.
Okay, let's do it. I'm really just trying to bend this dent outward a little bit so that I can gain access to these electrical connections that are back here. The problem is I think there's like a specific hole that this electrical connection for the inverter back here is supposed to come through. Because of this dent, it's like smushed, so I won't be able to get the connector out of the hole. That's a little discouraging. I think I spread this hole large enough to be able to get the connector to come through. Thank you. So this is the electrical connection that came off of the taillight. Now, every wire loom and every electrical wire has these tiny little plastic clips. So down here you can see right by the tip of my finger's shadow is a little plastic clip. And they have these little pinchers on the back, and you have to like pinch each side individually and then try to force those little pieces that you pinch through the hole, like that. And then you can get the wiring harness completely out.
You also have to go through 25 pairs of gloves in order to do that.
You also have to go through 25 pairs of gloves because everything that touches these tears them. I ordered some thicker ones, they just haven't shown up yet. They'll probably be here by the time we make another video. But those little plastic clips and little wire loom attachments are all over the vehicle, everywhere, for good reason. But when you try and take out the motor, like when we were dealing with Medusa all over the motor in the last episode, there's probably 50 of those clips. And there's like 5 different types of clips. So whenever the harness is attached, you've got to figure out which type of clip it is, what tool you need, how you need to like maneuver it to get it out of its spot that it's attached to. It's really annoying. It's the main reason I didn't want to pull the motor, but I'm pulling the motor anyways. I'm getting all the electrical connections off. That right there, I believe, is actually the last electrical connection here on the bed.
Nice.
Now we're gonna undo the bed bolts and pick this puppy up.
It's scary.
That was scary. See how it rounded off some of those teeth? If that would have happened even a smidgen more, I would have been in big trouble. Now I've got to be extra careful with the rest of these. Ooh, the noise. Ooh, it's like nails on a chalkboard. Did you hear it?
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. Ah! I hate that. Ugh.
You want me to
It like sends an electric shock through my body when I hear that noise. It's a bad sign, baby. You know, I knew this would happen.
Where's that PB blaster?
See, the problem with PB blaster is you've got to spray it on the threads. It's like a penetrating oil, so it gets in the threads and then it allows it to loosen up. Really, the only thing I can do is heat the bolt up with a torch so that it expands. Or you're supposed to heat the nut, actually. I'll have to look underneath and see what this looks like underneath. We're gonna come back to that one. All right, so there's a million ways to deal with rusty and seized bolts. I'm really happy that this is the first one that we've ran into on this build. I don't want to jinx myself by saying that too many times, but I could heat it up, I could cut it off, I could do all kinds of things. I'm gonna try the easiest solution right now, which is to hit it really hard with a hammer, and that might like jar it and break it loose, even though I've been hitting it with this massive impact as hard as it can go for a long period of time. It hasn't broken anything loose, so this probably isn't gonna work, but we're gonna give it a try anyways. Now we are both deaf. We just built this garage, and it's basically already too small. Which I'm sure every guy says about their garage, no matter how big it is. All right, so this nut right here is welded onto the frame, and that nut is actually what's holding the bottom of that bolt. This bolt is the one that comes out of the top that holds the bed on. I basically need to take a torch and heat that nut up until it's like glowing red, and then I need to go up to the top and zip that bolt out. I don't have a torch like that. I have a plasma cutter, and I could just cut all 3 sides of that mount and just lift it up. It's probably the fastest way to do it, so I'll grab the plasma cutter and we'll get to work. Perfect. All right, well, I got the mount cut on all 3 sides that it was attached by, so it should be fully disconnected. Might take maybe like a little smack from a hammer. Well, I can't lift it up, but I think that's probably because I'm really weak. So there's a couple spots that this comes apart. I'm gonna see if I can try and get these hoses to come apart down at this little connection point by the frame. There's a couple bolts that hold them together and some hose clamps. Here goes nothing. officially disconnected everything that connects the bed to the frame. The bed's ready to come off, baby.
Wow. Scary.
All right, so I really had a dream of trying to save these bed sides so that I could do like a dovetail bed. I'm gonna do a tube frame in the rear, but it would be nice to lay these bed sides over the tube frame so that it still kind of resembles a truck and, you know, like kind of what it came from. But this one is absolutely wrecked back here. I may still try and do that, but while we're removing this bed, there's no need to like be careful or try to preserve the bed or do things that might not dent or scratch it. So we're just gonna try and get this thing up on the frame and then over here sitting on this crate so that it's out of our way and we can continue working on the truck. It's then going to be in the way of everything else, but I'm working with limited space here.
Only one, you count.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, set it down. No, I'm just setting it right up. Okay, there you go. Take the rest. Ready? Eight. Ready? All right, well, we got the bed removed. The bed is now sitting over here on the crate that's housing our front axle. And now we have the frame completely exposed in the back. You can see how much surface rust is on this, which isn't like an out of control, crazy, you know, insane amount of surface rust, but there's plenty. And then down where I needed to actually weld and do a lot of attaching for suspension, the rust is much more than surface. It's very, very bad. But now that we've got the bed off, I actually have access to all of these points that are attaching electrical harnesses. I can disconnect all of those, and then I think I can actually get the bolts unbolted from the body that are holding it to the frame. We can use the lift and put it underneath the body and pick the body straight up, leaving the motor and the frame down on some jack stands on the ground. Pretty exciting. From the cab back, everything is removed.
Okay.
Now there's just 4 bolts to undo under the cab. We should be able to lift it up, but first I need to put jack stands underneath the frame and lower the lift so that the frame is being supported by those jack stands. Then we can reposition the lift under the body so that we can pick the body up and undo those 4 bolts.
Okay.
And those 4 bolts are probably gonna be rusty. So I've got all 4 jack stands put in the best possible locations that they can be. Allie's gonna lower the lift. Once the frame contacts all 4 jack stands and is sitting with no weight on it, I can move these arms out of the way and then hopefully reposition them to put them on the cab. I am kind of worried about denting the bottom of the cab, but I don't think that'll happen, so here goes nothing. Go ahead and lower it. All right, well, here goes body mount 1 out of 4. Woo! I'm really glad that that came off so easily. Mostly because there's 4 of them and they're all underneath carpet or underneath like the seat in the back. So I really don't want to have to try and get to the bolt above to hold it from the top. So I'm really happy that it came off with just the impact on the bottom. 3 more. All 4 nuts came off successfully. The front washers came off. I'm gonna try and take a pry bar and a hammer and get these back washers off. And we start lifting it up. All right, so the problem is you have these big rubber bushings that hold the body onto the frame. That rubber bushing isolates a lot of vibrations and noise, and when you have bumps, it makes it a little bit smoother inside the vehicle. those bushings have a metal sleeve in the middle that the bolt goes through. The bolt gets rusted to that sleeve, and then you can't really pry it because when you pry, the bushing just absorbs all of the pressure that you're trying to introduce. So they're seized in there. So I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of PB, give it a few blows with a hammer, see if we can get it to come apart. If not, maybe there's something else holding it on, but I think that's what's going on. So there are actually 2 bolts on this body mount that hold the body mount to the frame. You can undo the 1 bolt that I'm undoing right now, but it's almost like Toyota knew that these were gonna get rusty and become seized because there's like this secondary way of changing the bushing. And we're not changing the bushing, but it's like a secondary way of separating the bushing from the frame so you can change the bushing. And I might have to do that. All right, so I got some good news, some not so good news. I got 3 of the 4 bolts off. Bad news is I still got to get 1 of the bolts off, and it's in a very difficult location where I can't really generate a lot of force, but that side is completely free. Once I get this last bolt right here, be ready to take it off.
Plasma cutter.
I'll be ready for a nap. It's not really in a spot where I can get a plasma cutter on it, or else I would be all for that at the end. All right, well, got a little bit of worst case scenario going on here. The bolt is rounded off. It's not good. Nobody likes it. But we're gonna try and lift this thing up and pound this bolt out the bottom. Because this is the one that was less seized. That one was more seized.
All right.
So we're gonna try our chances here.
Gotta shoot your shot.
Roll the dice, baby. Do what any smart guy would do. Cut it off. All right, I've successfully cut this body mount in half. There's 1 bolt on the front and there's 1 bolt on the back all the way back there. The one on the back was completely seized and the top rounded off and it wouldn't come out. So I cut the body mount here in the front and then one in there in the back, so that this is now 2 pieces. This piece will be attached to the body mount, which will go up with the body, and hopefully the frame comes away completely disconnected. And that's what we've been working at for multiple episodes, is getting the frame and the body and the motor and everything separated. And I think this might be the moment.
Oh. Whoa!
Looks pretty free to me.
Woo!
Guess what, baby?
She loose?
She's loose. I think there's still a couple of electrical connections and maybe some like wire clips and stuff that need to be disconnected, but as of right now, the body is free from the frame. And I could raise it up a little bit higher, but my wiring harness has 1 little dinky wire that comes down here. It connects to the AC compressor, and then for some reason, there's something underneath the AC compressor that has to be unplugged. So I'd have to take apart the serpentine belt, I'd have to pull the AC compressor off just to get that undone. And unfortunately, we are out of time for today. So we did get the body separated. However, it's not, lifted up in the air and looking marvelous like I was hoping, but we made a lot of progress. We got the bed off, we got a lot of the wiring harnesses in the back removed, and then a little bit of progress on removing the cab. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, make sure you show me by giving a big thumbs up on today's video. Consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys on the next one.